Hello and welcome to another episode of the Music Rabbit Hole. I am your humble host and bus driver on today's musical journey. Glad to have you with us. Happy Monday. So this is going to be a little different episode. Last week on Monday, I decided to delay the rest of that week's episodes because I felt like even though this show is not important in the big scheme of life or it's not some giant platform, I felt like any sort of carrying on with normal routines felt inappropriate. And I felt like as a white guy, it was important to use that time to listen and learn and not make it about me. Just take a step back and do what I can do to help. I want this show always to be a celebration of music as a whole. I mean, I've had black artists, I've had white artists. Good music is good music. So while I do want to continue putting these episodes out moving forward, I in no way want this to be like, okay, I stopped posting YouTube videos for a week, I've done my job sort of thing. So I encourage you to seek much smarter people than I for support on what organizations to donate to if you can. And let's just friggin' win this fight together. Let's love each other, support each other, and lift each other up. So the Wednesday and Friday episodes 22 and 23 that were going to air last week will be airing this week. And for today, I wanted to use this episode as kind of a special spotlight on some of the most influential black artists from the 50s and 60s and 70s. Most of them you've already heard of. But in my mind, in order to appreciate the music that we're hearing now, we need to remember and honor those that came before. Especially those artists that struggle with a lot of the same systemic racism that we're still fighting today. So sit back and enjoy. Let's get into it here. We're going to do 10 artists that were highly influential, 10 black artists in the music scene from 60s, 70s, 80s, and that sort of thing. And hopefully, my one worry is that because these artists are so big, I'm hoping that the video doesn't get taken down or copyright violation. So we'll see. All right, so let's start things off with Sam Cooke from Chicago, Illinois. Many people have credited Cooke as being the inventor of soul music. He was a civil rights activist and a tremendous, effortless voice as a singer. And so the song I'm going to be playing here, and I'll play about a minute or so like I normally do on the show. The song I'm going to be playing was originally appeared on Cooke's album Ain't That Good News and was released February 1964. This song was inspired by personal events, including an instance where he and his entourage were turned away from a whites-only motel in Louisiana. So the song is A Change Is Gonna Come by Sam Cooke.
It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there.
Change Is Gonna Come by Sam Cooke. Moving on, next artist on our list today from Los Angeles, California, Etta James. For many years, Etta James' music was overlooked, but her music has influenced so many musicians that came after, musicians like Diana Ross, like Janis Joplin, the Rolling Stones, and many more. The song I'm going to be playing was originally written for the 1941 film Sun Valley Serenade, and then in 1960, Etta James recorded her own arrangement, and it appeared on her debut album, At Last. The song is called At Last by Etta James.
At last My love has come along. My lonely days are over. And life is like a song. Oh, yeah, yeah, at last.
Etta James, At Last. Moving on, next up on our list, we will be heading to another icon, originally born in Albany, Georgia, Ray Charles. Ray Charles was a pioneer of soul music and became one of the first black musicians to be granted artistic control by a mainstream record company. In 1961, Ray Charles canceled a show in Augusta when he found out that white people would get to be on the dance floor while black people had to stay in the balcony area. The song I'm going to be playing today was released as a single in December of 1954 and later appeared in the 1957 album called Ray Charles. It was originally titled I've Got a Woman, but has also gone by the name I Got a Woman. We'll go with the original naming, so here is I've Got a Woman by Ray Charles.
Well, I got a woman way over town that's good to me. Oh, yeah. Say, I got a woman way over town, good to me. Oh, yeah. She give me money when I'm in need. Yeah, she's a kind of friend indeed. I got a woman way over town that's good to me. Oh, yeah. She says a loving.
You've obviously heard some of this sampled in Kanye West's song, Gold Digger.
Oh, yeah. She says a loving early in the morning just for me. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it is sampled in Gold Digger, and it's always really fun when you hear songs that from back in the day when an artist can sample them and use them in modern music, and kind of gives you new appreciation for some of those artists and things like that. So, all right, so that was Ray Charles. Moving on, next up, from Detroit, Michigan, the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. Franklin is obviously known as one of the best singers of all time, but also was heavily involved in the struggle for civil rights and women's rights. She donated money to multiple groups, she performed at benefits, at protests, and always was heavily involved in her community. This song was written and originally released by Otis Redding in 1965, and then a few years later in 1967, it became a hit for Aretha. This cover was considered a landmark for the feminist movement. Let's listen in on R-E-S-P-T, respect, R-E-S-P-E-C-T by Aretha Franklin. Here we go. Respect by Aretha Franklin. And the cool thing with that song is hearing, the original song by Otis Redding and then hearing this version. I mean, they take on different meanings, utilizing the same lyrics. I mean, Otis Redding obviously talking more about, I think his version was more about, kind of courting a woman, kind of like, that sort of thing. And with Aretha, it became more of like a feminist type song, an empowerment type song. So that's cool. All right, moving on to number 5 on the list here is actually Otis Redding from Dawson, Georgia. Redding is considered one of the greatest singers in American pop music, and it was super tragic that his life was cut short by a plane crash at only 26 years old. But even in that short time, he was heavily active in charity. He was even working towards creation of a summer camp for disadvantaged black children before his death, and is just known as just one of the best. And the song I'm going to be playing today was recorded in 1967 twice, including once just days before his death. So this song by Otis Redding is called "Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay." Sitting on the Dock of the Bay by Otis Redding. Halfway through today's show, this is where I always stop. And usually just tell you, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm not going to get into all that today. Again, we'll be going back to a somewhat regular schedule starting on Wednesday. Wednesday will be the A Day episode, and Friday will be Mom Jeans. So you'll hear in those episodes later in this week me referencing Monday's episode. So that would be actually in reference to last week's Monday's episode, because then I postponed those episodes. You guys can figure it all out. But Polo G was last week. But yeah, so we'll be hitting up A Day on Wednesday. Like, comment, and subscribe, all that stuff. And again, this is just kind of a special episode on this Monday. All right, moving on. We got 5 more artists to hit up, and this is just 5 of many, obviously. Hundreds and thousands of artists. I just wanted to choose 10 to spotlight here on this episode. By the way, full playlist of the songs on today's show will be in a Spotify playlist. I'll put the link in the description, because I am I highly suspect that maybe 1 or 2 of these songs may get reported for copyright, so I may have to take the episode down or whatever. But the Spotify playlists are all there in the description, so definitely go listen to the full songs in case that happens. All right, number 6 on our list, McKinley Morganfield, otherwise known as Muddy Waters, born in Mississippi. Muddy Waters is known as one of the fathers of modern blues. He provided more of a pep sound to blues instead of the moody, sad blues at the time. The Rolling Stones are actually named after a Muddy Waters song called Rolling Stone, and he contributed heavily to American music. This song was recorded by Muddy Waters in 1954 and is known as a classic Chicago blues song. Let's listen into I'm Your Hoochie Coochie Man by Muddy Waters.
The gypsy woman told my mother before I was born, you got a boy child coming, gonna be a son of a gun. He gonna make pretty women jump and shout. Then the world wanna know what this all about. But you know I'm here. Got a black cat bone.
I'm Your Hoochie Coochie Man by Muddy Waters. All right, next up, the great Louis Armstrong from New Orleans, Louisiana. The great Satchmo. He is known as the most influential figures in jazz. His career spans from the 1920s all the way through the 1960s. Armstrong was known for obviously his tremendous music, his vocals, and his ability for his music to cross over where music transcended race. This song is a jazz song written by George Douglas and George David Weiss. It was recorded by Louis and released in 1967. You've heard it. It is What a Wonderful World.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Such a tremendous song, such a tremendous voice, signature sound. All right, 3 more to go on this special episode here. Every episode's special, but this is a little different, as you can tell. All right, number 8 on the list here, hailing from Seattle, Washington, Jimi Hendrix. And while he was really only kind of mainstream successful for 3 or 4 years, Hendrix is considered one of the most influential guitarists in history, and one of the kings of rock and roll. This song was released as the second single by the Jimi Hendrix Experience on March 17th, 1967. The song, Purple Haze. Just one of the best guitarists ever. Just ever. All right, 2 left to go here. We're heading to Washington, D.C., where he was born, Marvin Gaye. And Gaye helped shape the sound of Motown in the 1960s, and some regard him as the Prince of Soul. Gaye used his music to discuss and illustrate issues during the 60s and 70s, such as police brutality, drug abuse, environmental issues, anti-war, black power issues. So he was definitely very outspoken, including that album called What's Going On. And this song, which was released in 1971 on that album, was inspired by police brutality incident. And the song is called What's Going On by Marvin Gaye.
Hey, what's up now? Brother, what's up? This is a big party, man. Yeah, I can dig it. Stop. Right on.
Mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, there's far too many of you dying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Hey, Father, we don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Oh, picket lines and picket signs.
Letting it go a little longer. Got to get the chorus on this one.
With brutality, talk to me so you can see. Oh, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
Man, I mean, it's crazy to think a song that was released in 1971 is still super applicable to today and what's going on. All right, final song here to play us out on this special episode. Born in St. Louis, Missouri, Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry is nicknamed the father of rock and roll and was a major influence on rock music as a whole. He contributed an irresistible swagger. He had this focus on guitar riffs, and there was an emphasis on songwriting and storytelling. Those were all things that he helped influence in rock and roll. This song I'm going to be playing here to play us out was recorded by Berry in 1958, and it's considered one of the most recognizable songs in the history of popular music. The song, you've heard it, Johnny Be Good, Chuck Berry. Appreciate you guys watching this episode here. Again, Wednesday, a day. Friday will be Mom Jeans. And, hey, let's just keep doing better, people. Keep supporting music. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. And, let's just make the world a better place. And besides that, support all the artists. Obviously, on this episode, stream their music, but of course through all the artists that you've heard on various episodes of this show. Support these artists by buying their music, their merch, as I always say. Besides that, everybody, so long. See you on Wednesday. This has been another episode of The Music Rabbit Hole.